Okay. Well, let's see. So if you are not subscribed and you're in this area, you were sorely missing out on the East Side. Hold on. Oops, something's going on. Let's see. What is? Okay. There we go. Okay, so I'll go through the article a little bit, and I'll go ahead and share this with our audience. Let's see, under comments, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you should now see it. But let me go ahead and read it. A peek inside Highland Park's tiny home village. So Maria Pernuti of Highland Park listened to the tour guide who was introducing neighbors and community members to the new Arroyo Seco tiny home village that will welcome homeless residents later this month. As she was learning about the 24-hour guards on site and other security features, her husband was inside one of the living units. Checking out the mattresses, he gave it a thumbs up. I live right down the street and I'm thrilled this is here, says Pernuti about the 117 prefabricated cabins that have taken over 6.8 acres. It's formerly a parking lot off Arroyo Seco Drive near Arroyo Seco Park. This is so much better than having human beings living underneath that overpass or underpass. She says, here they can be safe, get help, and move on. Here they will be seen as people. Pernuti and her husband were among those who attended this weekend's open house at the soon-to-open Tiny Home Village. It will be the largest homeless shelter of its kind in California, according to organizers. Offering the public tours of the village is a way for the neighbors and community members to better grasp how the homeless will be temporarily housed, says Grace Anchetta of Hope of the Valley, the nonprofit that is managing 6 tiny home villages in Southern California. There is such a tremendous need. This is the epicenter of where the population is. If we don't have shelter or tiny homes, the longer they are on the street, the harder it is to get them housed, she said. Okay, continuing. Not everyone is a fan of the tiny home village concept. Some activists for the homeless who prefer permanent housing dismiss the prefab structures as nothing more than garden sheds. An effort to recall Councilman Kevin De Leon was apparently triggered in part by his support for the Highland Park tiny home village. But showing the village and answering questions up front to residents can calm fears and worries, said Anchetta. She explains that some naysayers have come into the organization's other tiny home villages ambivalent about housing the unhoused in their neighborhood. But once they leave, most are surprised and convinced that maybe this is a good way to go. As traffic zipped by from the nearby Arroyo Seco Freeway, a 9-foot-tall barrier will be installed soon. The groups of curious were led around the colorful artwork adorning each unit. The original designs were the result of a competition on the YouTube series Instant Influencer that invited artists to custom hand paint designs on the tiny homes. Tour groups wandered up and down, down rows of units, featuring cheery depictions of flowers, peace signs, turtles, blueberries, hearts, sunsets, and other calming imagery. Inspirational sayings also are painted on each tiny house. Round happy bees buzzed on restroom and shower trailers. Happy faces on the laundry trailer. There's a laundry trailer. All right. Let me keep going through this. Guests walked inside the units to get a feel of what life will be like for the residents. Made by pallet shelter, each tiny home is 8 by 8 feet and has a locking door, 4 windows with screens, heating, cooling, and electricity, as well as a fire extinguisher, smoke detector, and carbon monoxide monitor. Most have 2 beds, but a few units will be accessible for wheelchairs and the disabled. A special touch, a handmade quilt on each bed will become the property of each resident, an item they can take with them when they leave. The sturdy shelters, which take only 90 minutes to assemble, will offer up to 224 residents a safe place to start a new cycle off the streets. Residents will be provided with 3 hot meals a day, along with the access to mental health and job training services. Pets will be welcomed. Taking about 3 months to build, the village was funded and built by the city of LA, but managed by Hope of the Valley. Residents will be staggered into their new dwelling units starting the week of October 25th. That's today. There we go. It will be about 5 or so at a time, says Anchetta, explaining that gradually welcoming residents in smaller numbers will avoid a mad rush for staff, will be an easier transition for the residents and not stress out the neighborhood. Well, there you go. Look at that, man.
Wow. Hey, man, this is a home run. This is
right.
3 months. First off, I'm sure it was talked about much longer than that.
Yeah.
But that's lightning speed for
90 minutes to set up.
Government to move.
Yeah.
For those naysayers, I'm glad they got one line in this article.
Yeah.
Because giving somebody a space that's their own, that they can lock, having services of mental health, and it's, I think, street to a full home. I compare it to what's going on in Echo Park, which, is a specific project. I'm thinking of an enormous cost, upwards of $500,000 to build a unit per person.
No, wait, remind me, this is a project for Echo Park?
It is. It's supposed to be transition housing as well. I mean, this is a huge step up, an enormous step up from living on the street. Not only the space, but the services, the cleanliness, the showers, the laundry, and
the security. It's all really figured out.
Help get someone into a position so that they can move beyond this. And I hope that that's what happens. And this is clearly, in my opinion, our tax dollars being put to very good use. Anything else we can do to support this? And I know you wanted to mention kind of the Avenue 8.
And
why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, and I just added, Darren, the Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission site. They are, of course, looking for donations. It talks about the other 5 tiny villages that they have. And there's a nice video here. We won't go through it, but it's the CEO going through the Arroyo Seco tiny home village. So a lot of good information here to check out. And it also gives you the location, which if you look off the 110, Darren, is pretty perfect for this. It's far enough away from neighbors, but obviously well sited for everybody to get to it. It's right there at the 110. I don't know about the air quality, but
they're building $1 million condos on the freeway. I mean, everybody, in some cases, people are choosing to live there for big dollars. So you can't have everything. But I will say this, and even talking about the development and moving forward on the Echo Park one, which I was around and involved in a little bit, they step up services around these transitional housing type communities. That's like a requirement. That's part of the structure when they know because look, the people coming in may have mental health issues, there may be drug issues. They've been living on the street. So they have extra security that's around, not only on site, but police patrols that are a little more frequent to make sure that the surrounding neighborhoods aren't impacted negatively. Is that 100% guarantee? No, but the people who are around this should know that, and that the city and the organizations are aware of the things that could come from a negative perspective, and they're adding services to try to mitigate that.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the site, and you talked about the $500,000 per unit cost. You saw $3,000 provides a home, so that's what they're looking for here. 3,000 tiny home sponsorship. Wow, per unit. That's awesome.
Well, let's I'm going to help. Let's get a home for someone, Joe. Let's work on that.
Yeah, it feels good, man.
Yeah.
And this isn't their first tiny home village. I was looking through the site earlier, Darren, and they're in Tarzana, Reseda, Alexandria Park. I'm not aware of where that is, but Chandler Boulevard, that was North Hollywood. I know there was a little pushback there from neighbors about that. Reseda. So yeah, it's all good. Van Nuys, good for them. Awesome. So, to go back though, so, we're with Avenue 8, a fairly new brokerage, maybe a year or so old. And we met with one of the leadership, legend in the real estate business here in Los Angeles, Alan Long. And one of the things he talked about was in previous brokerages that he's helped found, he was a big backer and is still on the board of a longtime organization called Chrysalis. And that was about homeless and helping homeless people or unhoused people. And he wants that to become a major focus for Avenue 8 as well. So, yeah, a good segue, Darren, into what's
Meaning
going
that
on
will
with our
be
brokerage.
contributing with sales and just helping fund that organization too. And that organization, Chrysalis, will not only try to house people, but they try to get them into the employment world as well. Like they've created services. I remember when I was working on the bid for Echo Park, they were trying to bid for the services to clean up the streets and manage things in the community. So they create jobs as well. So they try to provide housing and then provide jobs for those people that are working within their system. It's a pretty amazing organization.
Got it. Okay. Well, great. So we'll continue that story, but we're selling real estate. Not only are we concerned about people that need homes, but people that are not housed at this point and need some help.